Alright, hello everybody. It has been a long time since I uploaded a video. The last time I uploaded a video was actually last year. So, yeah, and it's already near the end of January. But I'm coming back with a video here showing, kind of an updated version of the, 2017 map I did of the, Asylum. But here you can see that I've added the times, well, as close as I could get. It's pretty hard to, figure out exactly how long the Miles and Waylon spent in each section of the asylum. Um, but this is the best that I could do. I'm probably gonna kind of update this. This is actually, these times are from a while back. I started doing this last year, and yeah, so I might do an updated version if I kind of, you know, feel like it, but I believe this is the closest, anyone has ever came. I don't think anyone's really, done something like this before. Um, I would have done like lines showing, where they went to exactly, but since this only shows the second floor, I can't really, the lines will overlap a lot. So once I do the final version, I might do that since it'll make more sense. But for right now, this is what we have. So let's take a closer look at it. So we're going to start with Miles. Miles is outlined in purple. So, of course, at first, he goes to the administration block. That is how he enters through the window. I have it shown here as 8 p.m. when he enters the administration block, since the sun is setting. And, so, yeah. And he stays there until about 10:30 p.m. Now, if you're wondering why it's so long, it's because, if you remember, Miles gets knocked out by Chris Walker when he gets thrown through the window down into the lobby. So, my guess is he's knocked out for about half an hour to maybe even an hour. So, it's kind of hard to say. So yeah. Of course, at the end of the administration block chapter, he is sedated by Father Martin and taken to the prison block, the second area he goes to. Now, he stays there from about 10:30 p.m. to about 12 a.m., and you do have to take into consideration that, that he would also be knocked out by Father Martin for about half an hour. So, next, Miles is in the sewers. Now, I do not have the sewers on here labeled because it runs underneath pretty much the entire asylum, though the sections that Miles goes to is underneath the prison block, courtyard, and male ward. So he's there for about 45 minutes from 12 a.m. to 12:45 a.m. Next, we have the male ward, which he stays there for quite a while. I think it's actually the longest I have here. That's 2.5 hours from 12:45 a.m. to 3:15 a.m. So, the times are pretty long, but that's because, I would take into consideration, he'll be walking around, getting batteries, recording everything, so it does take a while. This is not, he just runs through everything. Of course, I would assume that Miles would be, walking around, except when he is being chased. So, next we have the courtyard, which is another short section. He's there for about half an hour from 3:15 to 3:45 a.m. and he makes his way to the female ward, and he also stays there for a little bit, from 3:45 to 5:15 a.m. That's an hour and a half. Of course, that's where he loses his camera, so he kind of has to backtrack a little bit. But eventually, Miles does make it back to the administration block by about 5:15 a.m. If you remembered, he walks in at about 8 p.m., so many hours have passed. And he stays there until about 6:30 a.m. It is raining by this time. It actually has been raining throughout the entire night, pretty much. However, once Miles makes his way to the underground lab, by 6:30 a.m., the sun has begun rising and the rain has stopped, and he stays there for about an hour until 7:30 a.m. Once Miles disables Billy's life support, he is shot approximately at 7:30 a.m. So that's Miles. Now, we go on to Waylon. So, Waylon's was a little bit more difficult, actually, because, the stories do kind of overlap. But I have him in the underground lab before, the outbreak begins, but I've come to the conclusion that Waylon sends the email to Miles at approximately 2 p.m. And, after 2 p.m., Waylon is captured, arrested, and taken to the hospital. Shortly before about 2:30, and he kind of stays there for about an hour until at approximately 4 p.m. the Mount Massive slaughter begins, when the patients break out. So, the slaughter lasts for about a few hours when Miles arrives, so by the time Miles gets there at 8 p.m., things have kind of settled down. Most of the people have been killed. And yeah, but the hospital, Waylon stays there for about an hour and a half. Of course, he runs into Frank Manera. He leaves at about 5:30 p.m. and makes his way to the recreation area. And he doesn't stay there for long, only about 15 minutes. Of course, a lot of the chapters in Whistleblower are short. So yeah. At 5:45 p.m., Waylon enters the prison block, and he stays there about 15 minutes. This is the earliest known sighting of Chris Walker we have. When Miles meets Chris Walker in the administration block at about 8:15, I guess, approximately. Chris Walker made his way to the administration block, but here he's in the prison block. So at some point, he must have crossed this hallway, probably, to make his way to the administration block. And now I will make future videos showing the movements of the antagonists. So yeah, that's going to be fun. But at about 6 p.m., Waylon makes his way to the drying ground. Now by this point, it has started to get dark. Back when he was in the creation area, it was still light out, but it's starting to become night. And he stays there for about half an hour until he climbs the water tower and crashes through the roof of the vocational block. Now, the vocational block is where, out of the two, Waylon stays there for the longest, due to him being incapacitated for 12 hours. He stays there from about 6:30 p.m. all the way to 7:15 a.m. During that time, he also meets Eddie, and Eddie is killed at this time. At 7:15 a.m., Waylon makes his way into the male ward. He comes across Traeger's body, which has been there for a few hours. Once he exits the male ward at about 7:30, he does hear Miles, well, he doesn't really hear Miles being killed, but he hears the Wall Rider coming back to life and killing the soldiers, which, as you can see here, is about the time I have that Miles dies. Finally, Waylon makes his way into the administration block, which we have seen now 3 times in total throughout the Outlast series, and he escapes by 7:45. He's not in the administration block for long. The only thing that holds him back, really, is Jeremy Blair. But I would say 7:45 is about the time that Waylon escapes the asylum. So, yeah. That's the Outlast timeline as best as I could do it. So far I'm happy with this. I think the times are pretty good. The only thing that doesn't make sense is that Miles has had to drive all the way from Washington, D.C. to get to the asylum. And it takes about, what did I have it, like 26 hours to drive at least? So if Waylon sends the email at 2 p.m. and Miles arrives at 8 p.m., that's only about 6 hours. So that's kind of a thing Red Barrel's overlooked. But besides that, I think this is pretty good. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions or anything that, might be different that you disagree on. I'm always happy to hear it because, this is still kind of a work in progress, really. Of course, we never really will know the exact times unless Red Barrels, puts out their own version of this timeline. But this is mine, so, yeah, let me know what you think. And next time will probably be the antagonists. I already made one for Chris Walker. Actually, as I was doing this, I was taking Chris Walker's times into account. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.